On behalf of the Linn-Mar Community School District, I invite you now to and welcome everyone here this evening. And now I ask for us to have a call to order and a roll call to determine a quorum, please.
Director Buchholz?
Here.
Director Foss?
Here.
Director Langston?
Here.
Director Mansour?
Here.
Director Maury?
Here.
Director Thomas?
Here.
President Lau Lancaster?
I'm here. To keep the meeting flowing tonight, I'm going to read each agenda item and then I will ask for a report or a motion. An example would be this. Item number 200, adoption of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the agenda with updated item number 1001, personnel report.
I have a motion by Britt. Do I have a
Seconded.
second? Second by Evan. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? And the motion has carried. Item number 300. This is time for our special recognition. I will now invite Natalie up from Grant Wood Education Agency. Please come forward. Good to have you here. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me all right? Perfect. Thank you so much for allowing me to have just a couple minutes of your time today to recognize your early childhood team. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Natalie Mock. I'm a regional administrator from Grant Wood AEA, and I'm lucky enough to get to serve Linn-Mar. I'm here tonight to share some exciting news about Linn-Mar's early childhood team, which we have some of the members here. In the world of special education oversight, we look for specific markers of growth, and tonight we are recognizing a significant achievement in the district's service to its youngest learners. The Department of Education has a state system that ensures school districts provide a high-quality education to students with disabilities. IDEADA, which stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Differentiated Accountability, is Iowa's general supervision system designed to provide support for districts when and where they need it most. In 2022, under this framework, Linn-Mar was designated a Level 2 district in literacy, with 3 total levels, Level 1 requiring no support and Level 3 requiring the most support. This designation acted as a call of action, requiring the district to engage in a partnership of intensive professional learning led by Sam Collins, who's here tonight. She's an early childhood consultant from Grant Wood AEA. And this was focused on specially designed instruction, or SDI, in preschool literacy. This meant looking deeply into how instruction is uniquely tailored to meet each child's specific needs. It is worth noting that the district actually chose to engage in this work prior to their designation, which is just another marker of their determination in ensuring strong outcomes for their learners with disabilities. It is a privilege to stand before you today to share the results of that work. During the Cycle 2 designations, which were released in October, Linn-Mar successfully moved out of Level 2 and achieved a Level 1 designation. Level 1 is the highest tier of performance recognized by the state. It indicates that Linn-Mar has significantly improved its performance across a range of special education measures, not just in preschool. The early childhood team didn't just work harder, they worked differently. They refined their instruction to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive. This improvement is backed by clear, measurable outcomes. In Cycle 2, the district is now meeting criteria for the percent of learners with IEPs who meet or exceed expectations on the GOLD assessment, which is the statewide tool used to measure a preschooler's developmental milestones and school readiness. Additionally, the district saw an increase in the percentage of preschoolers receiving the majority of their services within the general education setting. At Grant Wood AEA, we see firsthand the efforts it takes to move the needle in special education. This transition to Level 1 in just 3 years is a testament to the talent and dedication of the educators here with me tonight. Early childhood team, on behalf of Grant Wood AEA, I want to thank you for your partnership and your unwavering focus on student performance. It is my honor to present you with this certificate of improvement for your outstanding work in special education in early childhood.
Thank you for that report, and what an honor to hear all of that hard work. Thank you for your dedication on behalf of the board and this community. Well done. At this time, we will move on to our item number 400. This is a public hearing. I now open the public hearing regarding updates to the 2026-2027 school year calendar and the proposed 2027-2028 school calendar. Is there anyone signed to specifically speak to that? Having no one to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. At this time, we will move on to item number 500, District Highlight Moment. We will take a moment to view a video that has been compiled by our Communications Department, and this is about why our students like going to school.
I like everything about school. I like studying. My favorite thing about school is the nice teachers and friends.
The teachers, because they're very nice.
I like seeing my history teacher, Miss Sylvester, and I like my math class a lot.
My favorite part of school is math. I get to do multiplication. My favorite subject is math and social studies. My favorite part about school is social studies and science.
I like theater.
One thing I like about school is band.
My favorite subject is music and art.
My favorite thing about going to school is seeing my friends.
My favorite part about school is the clubs.
Do I say it?
I like to learn. My favorite thing is all the teachers and staff.
I really like my teachers. They're like fun.
Our phenomenal teachers and my amazing friends. My favorite part about school is seeing my friends.
Hanging out with my friends.
My favorite part about coming to school is just seeing my friends with a smile on their face and studying my favorite subject, which is math.
You just get to learn a lot of new things, and it's really enjoyable, actually.
My favorite thing of school is everything.
Outstanding. Thank you very much to the communications team. That is wonderful. At this time, I'm going to call for item number 600, our audience communication. We have several individuals who have signed up to speak this evening. I will call you in order, and you will just come to the microphone. I want to let you know that you'll speak for 3 minutes. At that time, John will, if you go over your 3 minutes, we'll just comfortably say, it's time to sit down. We also will not respond. This is your opportunity to speak to us and to be heard. So at this time, I'm going to call forward Jessica and her son, John.
Hello. Okay. Thank you for your time in supporting our children at Linn-Mar. My name is Jessica Hora, and I'm a Linn-Mar graduate and a parent with 3 kids in the district. I'm here because of the corner of 35th and McGowan Boulevard. Children have to cross that every day to get to and from school. Because of busing changes, Wilkins area students who attend Boulder Peak now have to walk across the busy intersection just to reach their shuttle bus. That means kids are standing currently in the dark in the morning during rush hour trying to judge the speed of traffic just to get to school. No child should ever be asked to decide when it's safe to cross, especially even when law enforcement struggles to get through that intersection in a vehicle. More than 6,500 vehicles travel that road every single day, and that doesn't include the new development north or the added traffic from Tower Terrace. Wilkins does have a crossing guard there, and that person is risking their life to keep our kids safe at Wilkins. We should never be putting a staff in that position to make this broken system work. And this is hypothetically, Wilkins has already lost a student to a traffic tragedy, and our community knows the pain, and we cannot let this happen to another family. I grew up in this neighborhood. I've walked these streets as a child. This corner has been dangerous for over 25 years, and now it's even more dangerous than ever. Our community has been saying this for years. Parents know it, crossing guards see it, and this neighborhood has lived it. Wilkins and Boulder Peak families are asking for this to finally be treated with urgency it deserves, with the city and the school district coming together to make the crossing safer for everybody. Last year in December, I pulled up to an accident at that corner with a law enforcement getting hit there. You'd think they could go through that traffic just fine, but for them to get hit, I think the district needs to pull the video from that footage because kids would have been walking home about that time, and that could have been a child, and we do not want to repeat history at Wilkins. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a student from the Wilkins neighborhood and I go to Boulder Peak. Every single day I have to cross 35th and McGowan Boulevard to get to school. That's how I get to my bus. That is how I get home. It's not just a street, it feels like a wall of cars. They go fast, they don't stop, rush past me like I'm not even there. Kids stand there on the corner watching traffic, trying to find a moment to go, but there isn't really a safe moment, you just have to hope. Sometimes I feel like I have to choose between missing the bus and getting hurt, so when a car slows down, I run and my heart is pounding the whole time. I don't want to get hurt, I don't want my mom to worry about me, I just want to get to school. I also see younger kids waiting at Wilkins so then they can walk home together with siblings when there isn't a crossing guard. We all have to cross the same busy road. Please don't wait until someone gets hurt to fix this. Please make 35th and McGowan safe for us. Thank you.
Michael Bowling.
Hello, and Amy and everyone, that was great news on special education. Great job on leveling up. That's phenomenal. Michael Bowling, parent, resident in the community. I've been in attendance of the last 2 working sessions for the superintendent search, and just wanted to recommend the approval of the search firm that is on the dock later today, and ask the board to supply that firm with an official SAL. That's a scope of work of documentation of what you expect of them, recurring meetings and what have you, involving HR and what have you, which has been discussed, but not documenting officially. Also, from the survey with the community, I asked the board to provide a community feedback response from the survey, if possible, and to officially request an official superintendent search process. As it's been stated, if we look at getting a new super every 4 years, what is that process? What does that cost? And officially documenting that, and then every time a new super is hired, continuously improve that process. Thank you very much. Continue leveling up. Thank you.
Elizabeth Essling.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Essling. I'm a parent in the district, and I am here as a representative for the Marion Alliance for Racial Equity, or MAR, and the Justice and Liberation Coalition, and thousands of local residents in our collective organizations to read to you this statement. I stand before you to ensure that you as a school board and the general public understand how deeply our community still believes in the power and importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility to democracy. In particular, as we prepare to celebrate the federal Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday next week, we are standing up for the values underlying this important date. This is important because just last month, the federal administration removed both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth from the list of fee-free entrance days for the national parks, while adding Flag Day, which also happens to be the current president's birthday. This move is more than symbolic. It is a clear declaration of the values and beliefs behind the active whitewashing of history and dismantling of civil rights advances of the past 100 years. That whitewashing history is not just about fee-free days in national parks. These actions have been taken alongside the material dismantling of civil rights advances in education, in the law, in public society. These actions pose a very real threat to this nation's vision of freedom and justice for all. It is critically important that we continue to recognize our history, honor our leaders, and teach our youth about U.S. history, not just the good, but also the bad and the ugly. This is not because we are in some way anti-American. Indeed, it is exactly the opposite. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. recited the words of poet Langston Hughes. "Oh yes, I say it plain, America was never America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be." We look forward to working with you in 2026 and beyond to ensure America's promise of liberty and justice will be known and to ensure that our students, staff, and community at large continue to enjoy the benefits of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Thank you.
Anna?
Good evening. My name is Anna Clymer. I'm a parent of a senior this year, which is still mind-boggling to me. I'm going to continue to stay engaged, but in different ways after this year. I'm here to speak in solidarity with our immigrant students, families, and staff in our schools and in our area here and in Minnesota. Recent immigration enforcement actions in Minneapolis are creating real fear, and that fear is entering our classrooms. I can speak from experience. I have family members, I have friends that have made alternative decisions for their children, both in Minnesota and in Iowa, on how they'll be handling how their students engage with school. Students are anxious, families are afraid to engage, staff are supporting children through trauma while carrying their own concerns. This affects learning, safety, and trust. Our schools exist to educate and protect children. Iowa law and district policy are clear. Every child has the right to a public education, regardless of immigration status. Our schools are not immigrant enforcement agencies, and we have a responsibility to protect student privacy and maintain welcoming, safe environments. I urge this board to continue to clearly reaffirm those commitments to our families, our students, and our city, and to continue to maintain those safe environments. Please understand that silence certainly creates that uncertainty for some of our families and students, and your leadership creates that safety net. To our immigrant students, families, and staff, you belong here, you're valued, and this community stands with you. Our schools must be places of learning, not fear, and I ask this board to continue to lead with clarity and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends our comments from our public. I'd like to now move on to item number 700, our informational reports. At this time, we will have report number 701, Nutrition Services, Transportation, and Facilities Report.
I'm just going to be up here for about 10 seconds to introduce these three. So we have Stacy Fish, our Nutrition Services Manager, Brian Cruz, Transportation Manager, and then Andy Park, O&M Manager. This is probably the last thing that these guys want to do. I think they're very happy to be behind the scenes and do the work, but at the same time, I think they are enjoy highlighting their team and all of the good work that they do, but not necessarily themselves individually. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stacy to get them started.
All righty. I'll start up here. We currently have 86 nutrition service staff members that consist of kitchen staff, delivery drivers, office staff, and substitutes. Of them, 34 are full-time, 45 are part-time, and 7 substitutes. For our schools, of our 12 schools, we have 9 production schools and 3 satellite schools. Lynn Grove produces and sends meals to Wilkins. Novox produces meals and sends them to Inn Creek, and Echo Hill sends that to Bowman Woods, as well as the high school transports as well to Compass and Atlas for our schools. And the rest are all production schools and to their own. Next slide here is we'll talk about menu planning. Different things we think about. Different things that we think about when it comes to menu planning. What requirements and planning pretty much goes into this is. Do the plate colors look appealing? What do kids like? Can we mass produce and send to our satellite schools? Will the items hold up for service, quality, and is it cost efficient? Some of the items that we have on here that are required daily, whether it be breakfast or lunch. Fruit, we're a minimum of half cup offered daily. Vegetables, minimum of 3/4 cup offered daily. Vegetables are broken down into our dark green, red, orange, beans, peas, starch, and others. Students are required to select a half a cup of one of the fruits or vegetables, and we have to meet each category. There's weekly minimums for each one of those red, orange, starchy, those type of things that we do with that. As far as grains, 80% of the grains offered in school meals must be whole grain rich. We offer 1 to 2 ounces of those daily. Meat alternatives, 1 to 2 ounce offered daily with a minimum of 8 ounces per week. Fluid milk, 1 cup offered daily. Milk must be fat-free or low-fat. Flavored milk must be fat-free. And also for students with lactose intolerance or allergies, milk substitutes must meet the nutritional equivalent to milk. Calories, daily average over 1 week required. K through 5 is between 550 and 650. 6 through 8 is 600 to 700. 9th through 12 is 750 to 850 calories for lunch. Then K through 5 is 350 to 500. 6 through 8 is 400 to 550, and 9 through 12 is 450 to 600, and that's for breakfast. Saturated fat, daily average over 1 week required to be less than 10%. Trans fats are banned. Sodium, daily average over 1 week required to be less than, for K through 5, 1,110. 6 through 8, 1,225, and 9 through 12, 1,280 for lunch. And for K through 5, less than 540, 6 through 8, less than 600, and 9 through 12, less than 640 for breakfast. Excuse me. Alrighty, next we move into our reimbursable meals participation. For the average, this is where we currently are trending, not too far from last year with that. Next, talk about meal prices. Mandated by the USDA, we have to fill out a paid lunch equity calculator, which determines our school lunch prices each school year. USDA also specifically sets adult prices each year for us. We don't get to choose that. It has to be a specific, either has to be at that level or higher for each adult meal. A la carte items are available for elementary, which is just milk at the elementary level. Intermediate, middle school, high school, anything that's smart has to be Smart Snack approved. A Smart Snack calculator approves for schools that snacks and beverages sold during the school day meet our federal nutrition standards for that. Gets to there. Free and reduced, we pretty much are trending for the last couple years at 23% across the district for our free and reduced number. We notify, reminders are sent out either mail or email. That free and reduced applications are available twice a year to all families within the Linn-Mar district. We just had our site review September 24th. We have these every 5 years, so our Department of Ed comes in and we get all of our paperwork, all of our requirements. They go through our menus to make sure we're fulfilling all of our nutritional requirements for us, making sure that everything in our department is following all correct requirements for that. Next one here is our cost control measures. We partner with 29 districts in eastern Iowa to increase buying power. Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, Muscatine, and Linn-Mar are some of the larger districts, with obviously many small districts as well for that. We also partner with Cedar Rapids and Marion for dairy, bread, and chemicals to get volume pricing. Our USDA programs, we make sure to utilize our allocations yearly from USDA programs for produce and diverted foods for our program.
I guess I lied. I do get to talk a little bit more here. We'll go through revenues and expenses real quick. So you can see our revenue last year was at just under $3.6 million. The majority of that is from our lunches. Federal reimbursement is roughly 40%, 30% of our daily sales there. Yes, we're pretty comfortable with where our lunch prices are in order to try to balance our revenues and our expenses. So Stacy, you can go to the next slide here. And then our expenditures, you'll see we're at 3.619, so we overspent our revenues and overspent our revenues by roughly $38,000. I don't remember what that exact number was, but 30-something thousand dollars. So really, right where we want to be. If we were 30,000 the other way, we'd be perfect. But the nutrition fund is supposed to operate as a nonprofit. We do have a fairly good balance there, which we are going to hopefully be spending down over the next year or two. Our plan there is not to add any operational expenditures or ongoing expenditures, but some one-time expenses. So we've talked a lot about the facility assessments. Kitchens are involved in that facilities assessment, so really reviewing what our equipment and such are in there, that where do we need to make improvements, and those would be expenditures that would be eligible out of the nutrition fund. So that's kind of our buy down plan with one-time expenses versus ongoing expenses, because our operational cost, as this shows, are really landing right where we need them to be, maybe with just some minor tweaks.
Good evening. Brian Cruz from your transportation department, and I'm going to start with, we'll just go through a little transportation data. I have not presented transportation data since 2022, so I would just caution comparisons between that time frame and now. Some of these things don't compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, but just wanted to review the last numbers given to the board as compared to our current numbers. So staffing-wise, you'll see there our full-time total staffing is 7. We currently have one of those positions open, so those are just positions at this point. There is one open. I always like to point out too that number is the same since 2007. So we've been able to keep up through some technology improvements. And so we're pretty happy with that we've been able to introduce some new technology that's helped us be more efficient with the 7 full-time positions we have. And then particularly with operations and dispatch, with 2 of us in the office, 2 in the office, and then myself. So technology's really helped us with that, with the purchase we made a couple of years ago. It's helped us keep up with those things. On to the bus staff itself. We currently have 34 regular AM and PM bus drivers, and that is an addition of 4 this school year into the pipeline. We've added some really fantastic people to our team, and we do have 3 additional in the pipeline right now. So knock on wood, we're headed in the right direction staffing-wise. Always a challenge, though. And again, a total at the bottom, our current total right now is 63 staff members in transportation as compared to 2022 at 66. We can talk a little bit.
Brian, just real quick, that's 63 staff positions, and are they all filled?
No, that's just current staff. The 7 is positions.
Okay.
And there's one of those open, and then the remainder, the bus staff, is actual staff members.
Cool, okay. Thank you.
In addition to staff, in order to get children to school, we need equipment. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The numbers might be a little overwhelming, but I'll just go back to 2022, where we had 66 total vehicles. Lots changed since 2022. The length of time it takes to order and receive a bus. COVID changed a lot of things for us. The pipeline for getting that equipment's a lot longer. So through that time, in recovering from that, we held on to a lot of vehicles. We have not decommissioned a lot of vehicles since then. So you can see now we're up to 68. And then on the consent agenda tonight is requesting permission to decommission 7 more. That is a reduction of 9. 68 to 59 is where we'll be post-sale, and that difference is that the board's already approved 2 decommissions that we haven't done yet. So we will be decommissioning a total of 9 vehicles to right-size our fleet, and that's what I call it. We've kind of held on to everything cautiously because of the lead time to get equipment, and we feel like that has settled now, so we can start right-sizing the fleet. In that right sizing, in the red there are the vehicles we want to purge. Starting at the bottom, we've got two 2003s that we're seeking additional permission on tonight, and we've already got permission for one of those. And then 3 of our 4 2008s to be approved tonight. We've already got permission to decommission one of those. 1 2009, we would seek permission to decommission tonight, and then a 2015 Microbird, which is a Type A, small bus that we would like to decommission. And then our plan is next year at this time when we purchase buses, then we will complete decommissioning of the 2009s that we have, which will get our fleet, our max fleet age to 15 years, which has been the goal. We've had to extend that a little bit, so. Questions on that? Next, student and route information. Again, apples and oranges here, just because of the setup from 2022 till now. Current numbers on general ed transportation, we are transporting 3,132 students and then 96 special education students for a total of 3,228 students transported daily. I did break down the numbers a little bit differently on transportation runs and routes per tier that I have not quite done before. And so for your information, a run is all of the routes that a bus completes when it pulls out of the gate. And then a route is each individual route to each school building. So currently we have 33 vehicles that pull out of the gate in the morning, and they go out and accomplish 68 general ed routes and 19 special ed routes with those vehicles. So you can see at the bottom there, our balance, our tier balance for tier 1, 2, and 3, we're running 34 vehicles or 34 routes on tier 1. And some might notice that that is a 34 on tier 1, when up above I told you that we had 33 runs that go out, and that is because one vehicle does complete 2 runs to the same building, and that would be the Boulder Peak shuttle in addition to a Boulder Peak route. Then tier 2 is a total of 30 vehicles, and then tier 3 is a total of 23 vehicles. So as our day starts, the demand is the highest on that early tier, and then it lessens at each tier. Questions on that?
I have a clarification question. So tier 1, you said intermediate middle school. Is that how it goes, or is it like the specialized tiers that we were talking about? I just wanted to clarify. It was okay. Thank you.
So yeah, tier 1 is 28 general ed routes and 6 special ed routes. And you can see there, so on the regular transportation, you can see it's clearly tier 1 is the heaviest load, and actually on specialized transportation, tier 2 is the heaviest load of students.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about how those tiers and the amount of runs help us in the afternoon as it comes to extracurricular activities?
So our highest demand is at 2:35 at our early dismissal, and so we're running those routes first, and then we have 4 of those do not have a secondary route, so we have 34 on the first tier, 30 on the second tier, so 4 of those would not have a second route, so they'd start being available for athletics and activities that go during that time. So from 2:15 to 3:15, basically, that's our highest demand. Then our demand starts coming down at each tier. So we're able to direct some of those vehicles then and drivers to athletics. Any other questions on student and route info?
I do have a question. Has there ever been thought of bringing back an activities bus?
That has not been mentioned to me, so I can't answer that.
Justin, can you define what you mean by an activities bus?
Just a bus that would go in the afternoon after practices that could bring kids home who decide to stay after for a club or practice or something like that?
Yeah, for practices, I'm not sure that we've ever done that, but we did formerly have middle school activity buses after middle school activities and clubs and that sort of stuff, and we would run an activity bus at each school. I think the last time it was probably pre-COVID before we did that. I'm not sure the exact year, but yeah, has not been, discussed that I'm aware of. And then miles and fuel, just, for your interest, probably the highlight on that page is the current fuel costs, clearly significantly down from 21-22. The other thing I like to point out is our propane. We made the switch to propane a few years ago, and if you look at the price of propane over the last 30 years, there have been 2 peaks that got it above $2 a gallon. That's pretty stable. So we love that. The maintenance cost on a propane vehicle is very low. You literally can drain the oil at 6,000 miles and it looks like the same oil you poured in the bus at an oil change. So we're real happy with that. But anyway, just some comparisons on miles, and obviously miles are down a little bit because there's been some route restructuring and some boundary changing and that sort of thing. But numbers overall are pretty comparable. Questions on that? No?
So just seeing in terms of gallons spent, are we at a point where a majority of our transportation is being done with propane vehicles?
I would not say that. We have 22 propane vehicles in the fleet of 68, so a good portion of our route vehicles are propane vehicles for that reason. We do, not sure that to convey to you what our ideal bus is without maybe getting brand specific or anything like that, but the propane bus comes only in a conventional style bus. The propane engine comes only in a conventional style bus. So that kind of limits us in certain areas where a conventional style bus is not as maneuverable as a transit style. So we've had to kind of look at that. We did have some market information that there were providers working on propanes that would fit in a transit style bus. That has since been kind of put off. However, we are able to order as of now today a gasoline engine that will go in a transit style bus. And so we're kind of weighing all those options and just weighing out to see what's going to happen with what manufacturers are doing. We still can get a propane engine in a conventional bus. However, that they just don't fit every route area, and there have been kind of some quality issues with the buses that come with that propane. So,
and then because we're viewing this through gallons here, is the miles per gallon comparable to the other options? Does that create a discrepancy? Are we getting less miles to the gallon since we're viewing it all in terms of the gallon unit?
Yeah, when we compare propane, so we're losing about 30% of our miles per gallon, but you're losing well over that in the cost of the fuel.
Wonderful. I just wanted to make sure I kind of had some of those things in my head. Thank you.
Yep. We calculate all that and kind of look at our return on investment. So when we went to propane, we projected about $3,300 per year savings per bus in comparison to a diesel, and it's actually been well over that for the entire time we've owned them.
One of the things that we talk about in finance audit whenever we start talking about time to order buses is the balance of the fleet, not putting all our eggs in one basket. Even though we know propane is cheaper, we still want to have that balance for, like you said, the different bus styles and things. Can you speak to that?
I can. Yes, we do want to be diverse in our fuel because all the other fuel choices are not as stable as propane, and so you don't want to be exposed at 21, 22. We probably projected $2.50 per gallon of fuel, and it was $4.42. So you can really get hurt with that when you're too focused on the fuel, and then the cost of parts for certain types of vehicles. We have to have redundancy in each type of bus we have, each size of bus we have, lift bus versus non-lift bus. So we do want to be have some diversity on that fuel need. So we are, I don't know if you recall, last year we purchased some gasoline-powered buses, and basically our thought was waiting to see what's going to happen from the manufacturers. Let's just buy, I hate to say cheap, because $140,000 is not cheap, but the most cost-effective bus we could buy for route use and kind of sit and wait and see what's going to happen. We do have bids out right now that are due back here on the 20th. I plan on having a recommendation to you on the 26th based on those bids that are out right now.
Thank you. I think it's important to understand that we don't just go with the cheap, like there's a reason why we have all three options, even though fuel is it's one factor. But I appreciate the complexity and the time you take in weighing all of the options and making sure that, we need this kind of bus for this, and that you're like weighing all of those things before you bring us those bids. So
yeah, the first thing to being safe is having a bus that'll complete the route. Yeah, so winter fuel, that's why we started looking at propane. There are winter operability issues with diesel fuel that are challenging. If we keep having winters like this, maybe we change our minds a little bit. I'll take these kind of winters, except for last week. That was not a good day. But any other questions on that? Just want to review a few things we left in 2022 that we were working on when we left here. Our last report to the board, number one was staffing. That's just ongoing. It's just kind of the way of the world now, so that's still number one. But we did talk to you about transportation technology that we wanted to put in place. We're talking about new routing software. We're talking about student ridership. We're talking about parent communication ability versus the old phones. We got to a point where parents know about what's going on a bus before I can get phone calls out to them. We don't have to do that anymore. Tablets and directions for drivers. We have accomplished that. So we have the transport and equipment in our buses has accomplished that. And then Transact software has just taken us to a whole different level as far as being able to communicate with parents if a bus is late because of a breakdown or whatever the reason, the roads. We can literally text that out to broadcast text in minutes. So as I spoke back in 2022, we had some situations where we had some folks who were rightfully, a little frustrated with us because you can't make phone calls fast enough. We don't have to do that anymore. So been a huge step for us. That is still a goal right now because that contract expires in 2027. So we're already kind of preparing for that and testing out some other equipment and just, alpha tested some things and seeing where we want to go next year so we can continue to make improvements on that. And then the third thing that was kind of on the docket in 2022 was ELDT, the federal entry-level driver training program. It was mandated by the federal government. We did get that instituted. Our in-house training program is fully compliant with ELDT and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and we're just continuing to kind of refine and work on that. I do think there are some changes coming from the state. I was fortunate to be invited to the ELDT task force down at the Department of Education, and there are some things legislatively wise that are being required that we're going to see coming up here. So we're just going to continue working on training and try to have the best trained staff we possibly can. Questions on any of that? The last thing I'd like to just emphasize with you is you have some high caliber, high character folks on your transportation staff out there. They show up every day because they love what they do, and they don't seek out recognition. They just show up and do their thing. And so I feel it's incumbent on me to seek out that recognition for them here tonight. They're great people and they work hard, and they're very much appreciated. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so O&M specialties, we have HVAC, electrical, plumbing, skilled maintenance and grounds. We also have custodial. HVAC, they run the building management system. It's software, Metasys, MUI. You hear it called a lot of things. Monitor freezer and cooler alarms. That's our number one priority always. We can have no heat in a school, but we're gonna go take care of freezers and coolers first. 1,150 mechanical units they service quarterly. Rebuild pumps, change compressors, troubleshoot issues. That's what most of the HVAC technicians' days are spent doing. Electrical, lighting repair, ballast, bulbs, drivers. Custodians do a lot of the bulb changes, but our electrician does ballast and drivers. They're a little too complex. Clocks, fire panels, kitchen equipment repair, laminators, circuit boards. They do some project work too in the summer. Plumbing, finished the FCS kitchen at the AEC this year. Turned out really nice. Replaced water heaters at Wilkins. Minor restroom renovations. Replaced 179 water cooler filters. And it was a record year on number of work orders. Part of that was due to some student vandalism in the bathrooms. Skilled maintenance, they repair drywall, furniture, flooring. They install whiteboards and projectors, custodial equipment, repair, move large items between buildings. Grounds, they mow and maintain 270 acres of turf grass. They fertilize, spray, and paint athletic fields. We have 8 practice football, soccer fields, 3 game football, soccer fields, and 2 baseball fields and 2 softball fields that they maintain. We're eligible for an award every 4 years. I think it's 4 years at the baseball and softball fields, and we win that award every 4 years for the best fields in Iowa. Wilkins playground removal, they did this fall. They did all the grading and excavating, this past summer. They do concrete repair, they replace concrete, playground repair and upkeep. They repair the equipment and they put fresh mulch out. Snow removal is all O&M staff. John's even been lucky enough to get in a truck when we were shorthanded before. A lot of times Amy wants to have school on time, so it's all hands on deck. Annual inspections, smoke detectors, sprinklers, fire extinguishers, boilers, kitchen exhaust hoods, RPCs, which are your backflows. Each building has at least 2, 1 fire and 1 main, but most of them have redundancy. Elevators, exit and emergency lighting, that's done monthly by custodial, and then once a year by our 2 electricians. Oops.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
How often does the fire department come in and check out our properties? Once a year?
Yeah, once a year. I thought you were going to say how many alarm calls
Oh.
do we get? A lot.
No, I was just curious because most businesses go through this on an annual basis. All these folks can do everything they can possibly do, but it's nice to have another set of eyes once in a while.
Yeah, we do yearly inspections with the fire department in October.
Okay.
Usually. And Sean is in our buildings a lot. He teaches 7th and 8th graders how to use fire extinguishers. Like, he's at every building level teaching, so he's always got his eyes open. And we have a pretty good relationship, so he's not afraid to call me.
Okay, good. Thanks, Andy.
Is there any questions you have for me other than that?
And we can open up to Stacy and Brian too, if there's any questions for the 3 of them. And thank you guys for coming. I know this is not your favorite thing, but hopefully their passion for their departments show through and just a little look in to what they do every day. And I know I'm super fortunate to have these 3 leading those departments. They make my life easy every day, so can't thank them enough.
Well, first, before you go into questions, our gratitude for you coming. We know that it's a big work day for you today, so thank you for coming. The information is very valuable. And as we ask you questions, no, it's because we're curious, and we always love to learn, and so we're a learning community. So does anybody have questions that they would like to specifically ask? And if we can, for listeners especially, what area are you speaking to, and to whom do you want to answer the question versus just a blanket, good luck?
I don't have a question, I just have a general comment. I mean, clearly everyone sees buses, so it's not that they don't know that your department doesn't exist, but I think that you guys are kind of unsung heroes in our department. I don't think if you asked just a random community member if they knew Linn-Mar employed plumbers and HVAC technicians and electricians, they'd probably assume that we call that out. So I think it's really impressive that we have this in-house, and that you three should be very proud of your departments and what we're able to accomplish as a team. It's such a value add to the district to have this kind of expertise just on staff and able to come in and do things like this. So thank you.
Similarly, I was going to say, for each of you, it's such a critical piece of the day-to-day. And whether it's somebody working in the school, serving food, that point, I mean, some kids, like, lunch is, like, super exciting. And so you have people working for you that, are responsible for a lot of that joy and interacting with kiddos and building some social skills. And that is so appreciated. I know I always loved my school lunch ladies, and fellas. I also, regarding the transportation department, I was lucky enough to meet somebody who's been on your staff for, I think, like 20 some years. And he also happens to volunteer for an emergency medical service in Lisbon, Mount Vernon. And when you say, like, they're show up on time, work hard, and, getting to know somebody who not only has that long time commitment to the Linn-Mar transportation service, but is also the kind of guy who would volunteer at the, with the ambulance service. And I'm sorry, I don't know any of, but, I know you, we had that chance to meet at facilities, and so I definitely I hate leaving people out. So, but yeah, I definitely appreciate all the folks who do their day-to-day work, so it's easy for everybody else. So thank you.
Thank you for taking your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I learned some things tonight as well, and I'm willing to bet that others would as well. As we move forward, Brian, I heard you talk about you haven't presented to the board here since 2022, and amazing things have happened. I would challenge you and how you can do more storytelling and work with Renee throughout the next year. I think as I learn stuff, and I have 2 kids in the district, and I compare that to my experience when I was in high school, it is very different. And there are a lot of things I learned tonight that I just had taken for granted and hadn't realized how they had changed or updated. And I think as we think about what sets Linn-Mar apart, part of what sets Linn-Mar apart is the wonderful work that you 3 and all of your teams are doing. And unless we know about it, unless it's shared and told and sung from the rafters, it just goes without notice while being amazing. So I encourage you to consider finding more ways to do storytelling for the amazing work you do. And then Brian, and this goes for the others as well, you talked about a recommendation. You're going to share your recommendation later. When you do that, I just encourage you to also, if you can, share your strategy. I remember reviewing your recommendation in the past for the buses, but I don't know if I ever heard the strategy. And when I heard the strategy tonight, I was like, well, of course that makes perfect sense. Because people will stop us on the street and say, well, you voted for this, why did you vote for that? And I said, well, because it was recommended to us. And they'll say, well, why did they recommend it? And I'll say, well, I trust them. But when we get to hear your strategy, it's not that we're questioning it. We just get to learn about it as well. It makes the storytelling so much easier. So thank you.
I would also open the door to welcome any of you to come out and walk around the place with us, go for a bus ride. We would love to do that. Yep, we like to show off what we do.
Thank you. Often what happens is that we hear about you when something maybe goes wrong. So tonight we extend our gratitude for the 99.99% when all is well, and today was a good day. And that comes from your leadership. So thank you very much, and for the communities that you have created within our community. So thank you very much for your report tonight.
Thank you all very much.
All right, Carla. 7:02, Human Resources Report. Bring it.
One moment. It's hard. It's just hard. Okay, so before I get started, I just wanted to share, we had a couple lively conversations this morning at Cabinet. So the first conversation, well, not really the first, but one of them was we were talking about buses for sale. And I said, oh, I want to have a bus. And so my dream job, besides this one, is to drive dogs back and forth to doggy daycare. And I said I could get a bus and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, Amy, since you're retiring, you could drive for me. And the other fun fact is we were sitting around the table this morning, I realized I was the only one sitting at the Cabinet table who is not a Packers fan. So they're going to love my presentation. All right, I am going to talk about our retention playbook, winning the Super Bowl of talent. I know that the Super Bowl is about a month away, but I just can't help myself. So here we go. So I'm going to review tonight what makes our retention strategy strong, as well as a few techniques and tools that can help up our game. So our agenda includes our Linn-Mar playbook and goals, quarterback, offensive vision, playing by the rule book, and building a strong defense. As any football player knows, it's important for the team to call the best strategic plays to win. Today, we're going to talk about 3 key plays in our playbook and how some additional tools can help us win. So you can see our playbook up there, winning the Talent Super Bowl. The 3 key plays that we're going to talk about today are employee engagement and experience, retention, and compliance. And these are all aligned with 2 of our strategic goals. A quarterback must ensure the offense is aligned with their vision, in this case, our strategic goals. Specifically, we have 4.1 people, performance, and optimization. Leverage technology to gather people analytics for data-informed decision-making. So specifically what we worked on this last year is we did look at United Kronos Group, which is we called Kronos. And aside from the cost, there really wasn't a lot of confidence that that system or anything system like it would play well with our current ERP system, which is Visions. So then we pivoted to 4.3, workplace satisfaction and retention. We looked for other technology that could help with people data to assist with employee experience and retention. And then, of course, compliance. Whoop. So when we go through this next slide, we're going to talk about our kickoff. This is how we're going to kick it off. Again, as any football player knows, it's important for the team to call the right strategic plays. Includes looking at how we can craft plays that set the district up to win. And this starts with listening, understanding, and then acting. So we're going to kick off. Our first down is assessing employee engagement and satisfaction. That would be listening. Our second down is to review the data and reflect, and that's understanding. And our third down is to create a winning plan through addressing the feedback, which is acting. And the goal of all of this is a touchdown, and of course we want to retain our MVPs. And how do we do that effectively and efficiently? I am so glad you asked. HR would like to sign Qualtrics to play on our team. We've been scouting Qualtrics for several months, even before we started looking at UKG. We did not deploy the Upbeat survey this year to ensure follow-up and progress was all completed. And although Upbeat was a great tool, it captured one moment in time. So what if someone was not willing to go to training camp on that day? Not that that ever happens in football. So Qualtrics will replace this platform, giving our principals, departments, ability to take a deeper dive into specific areas as well as key moments in the employee life cycle. So each touch point has unique data tied to it, and we're going to go through those right now. So when you talk about the whole experience, we have the candidate experience in an employee life cycle all through an exit interview. Eventually, everybody leaves. So one thing we're trying to do is think of this as a football field, and we can check in on our yardage progress at several points in the employee life cycle. We can think of this as a football field, and we can check on our yardage progress at several points throughout this employee life cycle. For example, with candidate experience, how did we do in our draft this year? We can get the candidate experience all the way through orientation, can talk about professional development, how did you like these professional development offerings. We can do quarterly pulse surveys, which is just a short survey following up on some things that maybe we discovered during the initial surveys, annual engagement workplace ethics, well-being check-in, all the things from the soup to nuts. Qualtrics can help us try to figure out what's happening, what's going well, maybe what we need to improve on, and move forward from there. So, it's an engagement platform, as you've probably saw in your board notes this week. It includes well-designed questions, measuring the right things with benchmarks, personalized questions to include internal terminology. There's role-specific dashboards, and a large library of evidence-based practices to respond to that feedback. They also offer AI within the system to help principals, supervisors, anyone to figure out what can we do. This is the feedback I received. What can I do with this feedback, and how can I help make this better? They do offer flexible channels, which is nice. Upbeat was pretty much email. The channels they do email, which is anonymous. They do QR codes. They'll do it through Teams, automated reminders, and then they also do text, which most people look at their texts. I can't say that about email. And finally, it does confidential employee comment summaries that reveals just overarching themes, but they don't really dig into who said what. Some people may argue that defense is more important than offense, and when it comes to our employees, we know retention is the new recruiting. We need to take measures to keep our players happy, healthy, and in the game if we want to win. So how do we do this? I'm glad you asked. We build a strong defense against turnover. When you look at workplace satisfaction, we need to establish district-wide and job-specific measures to capture relevant and actionable feedback to assess what to do. What should we keep or hold on? What should we improve to strengthen? And what should we do what kinds of things do we need to throw away? Maybe they're not working anymore. We want to be consistent with our strategic plan, honor those schools and departments. They all have unique identities, so we don't want to put them in a box. We need to hold timely huddles with our staff for review and progress on any plans we have. And then finally, the exit interviews. We want to avoid those future free agency situations that can crop up. I would call that watching game film. It would be more modern now and help us improve. Right now, it's just all by hand, all of it. So that's a little cumbersome. And then even the best teams need referees to keep the game fair. In our game, that means making sure our team stays energized and completes all required state, federal, and district requirements upon hire. First of all, we want to avoid that survey fatigue. And how we do that is not to obviously over-survey, but we want to have transparent and timely communication and actionable follow-ups that we actually follow up on. And then also avoiding penalties that cost us yardage. We want to ensure that all of our required trainings are completed. Don't we already do this? Of course we do. But it's a manual process, and it's really essential that we have a digital system that sends, tracks, and updates the district on completion rates. And that's what we would call Vector Solutions. That's a K-12 staff and student state compliance training platform. In your package, you have a listing of all the available trainings that they do offer at this time. What I really like about this platform is 100% school-focused. There's training for just about every department. It's customizable with our own content. Automated, it sets up those training plans, email notifications, and real-time tracking, so we would not have to do that. They have over 200 courses offered that kind of fall under safety and compliance, inclusive instruction, interventions, and then facilities maintenance. Other large districts using Vector are West Des Moines, College Community, Ankeny, Council Bluffs, Davenport, and Waukee. We'll start using this next year, but to get a consortium rate, we had to sign off at this time. And finally, our championship vision. We want employee retention and engagement platform to help us out. That way we can make better data-driven decision-making. We want to build that culture of trust, transparency, and feedback, and of course, compliance, because we want Linn-Mar Community School District to be viewed as the employer of choice. Do you guys get that? Okay, all right, just checking. And thank you. What kind of questions do you have?
Oh, well, I'm going to jump in and say you might be the only one who's not a Packer fan, but I think you definitely have a few folks at the table who are also Skull Vikings.
Good job.
Nice Easter eggs in there.
Yes.
Yep. Mostly, yay. We've been talking about this since before I was appointed, I know, and so all of these things are such a long time coming. So,
yeah,
awesome. Very happy to see like this get integrated. And I was curious if those two tools that you mentioned connect or talk to each other at all?
They wouldn't necessarily talk to each other. It's kind of two separate systems. So the one is more of that learning management system, and then the other one is basically for employee engagement. That can, if we need it to, go with other programs, but right now we really don't have, with Visions, we can't, it won't play well with that, so.
Got it.
And I don't know that it needs to.
Okay, well, and that's, you know, I trust you guys to pick the tools that are right for you, and if that's not necessary, cool.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you mentioned Qualtrics, right? That is the survey system that you're going to. How are you? We're having trouble gathering or getting people to submit the surveys, right? How are we going to make sure that more people are engaged in filling those surveys out?
I think initially just even having it available via text is a huge, huge win. Email is great. I would say a third of our employees don't check it. So then that puts the onus on HR to go out to different departments and say, hey, you guys need to fill this out. They really don't want to fill it out on email, so then we, you know, it's a paper copy. So it's really nice that we could control it that way.
And thank you for a fun presentation.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to speak to and hopefully provide a moment for you to cheerlead yourself. I know that as I've been in the community in a variety of places, the feedback that I hear from even, because I did not grow up in the Linn-Mar area district, but the feedback that I hear from a lot of people in the industry is that very positive things about Linn-Mar. When I just would, again, love to give you the opportunity of the platform to speak to. Is this a recurring theme in some of your hiring, that this is a destination that people want to come to, that they want to work for, that they're sort of view this as a career trajectory upward that they can get in here? I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to that, hopefully.
Yeah, it's definitely a destination district. We offer a whole lot of things. We pay well, and we actually listen to our employees. So I think it's a really great combination at Linn-Mar. Not that other schools aren't great, but I really feel like we have positioned Linn-Mar over the last, I don't even know how many years, as an employee choice.
I just want to say that I appreciate you embracing the strategic plan process. So this is my 7th year, and I've watched you, I remember when we brought in Upbeat, and that was a great moment. We were like, okay, we have this thing, and it's going to be consistent because they give these reports back to the buildings, and it was building specific. And now to see that, okay, we've done that, and now we're going to grow from that, and we're going to take that next step. You know, sometimes you can be really great and then just rest on that, and I've never seen you do that. Even when we were putting together the strategic plan, you had big goals for your department, which is why it took a couple years to like get that first one.
Right.
Like you were like, I'm doing the research and we're gonna make sure we get it right. And so I just really feel like this is a really big leap.
Yep.
But there's been so much work leading up to it. And I really appreciate, I've been able to see all of that and know that this is, it sounds like you're introducing a whole bunch of new things, but I know the work behind it, and I've watched you progress to this point. So thank you for all of that work. I feel really confident in these decisions.
Yep. Thanks.
I was going to finalize with, there are some amazing good storytelling going on right now. You've put a lot of things on Facebook with Renee. You've had some really good interviews, and what I appreciate is that those folks are not movie stars. They're real folks talking about their real jobs, which makes it very accessible as far as I can see myself doing that job. And I appreciate that from the days where you would go to job fairs and maybe 1 or 2 people showed up. Hopefully just getting our story out there and knowing that even our own employees are speaking well, and that people can envision that has been a really good partnership, I think, with 2 different departments really speaking well to one another. So seeing the need, but also getting it done well and with quality. So thank you very much.
Yep.
Often, again, you're holding it all together. So thank you very, very much for your report tonight. It was very informative. And anybody else have any questions? If not, go team.
All right, Skol Vikings.
All right, we are up to item number 703, High School Counselors Advisory Report.
All righty, it's been a little bit since we met in December, I believe. I'm going to kind of try to keep this short. The thing I think that impressed me most is the counselors and their team have set up a very clear way to communicate who they're helping and the degree that they're helping. That system in place is the MTSS, which is the multi-tiered systems of support. And it sort of breaks down into visually what came across to me as a 3x3 rubric, like a tic-tac-toe board. And the idea being that there are 3 areas. You're either supporting something that's within their academic area, something within their social, emotional, behavioral area, and then there's something within their college and career area. And then basically the other parts of that are then the levels of support, you know, a level 1, level 2, level 3. It just, very impressed about, again, having that foundation so you know what you're helping students with, but then also prioritizing goals of how do you both maybe provide that high intensity level of support at level 3, but then how do you transition that person down so that they ideally don't need as much support. So it was a great meeting, and those counselors are doing a lot of good work, so thank you.
Any other report? Let's continue then. Item number 704, Marion City Council report.
And just a small correction, the city council meeting was on I think it was the 6th, hold on. It was December 16th, not the 18th as marked in the agenda. But at that city council meeting, there were a couple kind of boxes checked in regards to Linn-Mar. One was the the acceptance of the playground for the Wilkins playground and Talby Park. Just now that that's done, just like we kind of, yes, they said yes. So that happened. And then there's a couple housing developments in the area that had some other procedural things related to their plats, but nothing unexpected, just formalities.
Thank you. Britt, do you have a report for January 8th?
It's very short. Nothing pertaining specifically to Linn-Mar, but something that we've kind of been keeping our eye on is that Alburnett Road extension, and they approved several purchase agreements and temporary construction easements to start that construction. So that'll affect our bus routes and such.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item number 705, Facilities Advisory Committee Report.
Yeah, I will just briefly summarize that. John presented the summer 2026 projects, and these are ones that have been in the works for kind of years, some of them in conversation, and so just kind of giving us the overview of those projects and why they were chosen. And as an advisory committee, we basically give a figurative thumbs up to move those forward to finance and audit and then to the board. And so we'll see some of those on the agenda later tonight.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
No, we're working heavily on the 10-year plan, and Jonathan's got great staff who are in the contracts in place in order to kind of facilitate that. And that plan is what we've been saying for the last several years is going to help us determine the next investments that we want to make in the school district. And so I know, Laura, what you were just talking about, but for some of the stuff that's coming up, but we've been waiting on that 10-year plan to make the investments in the next school district, and Jonathan's got great line of sight into creating that deliverable.
So my question was around the 10-year plan. Do we know when we will have a prelim plan or something?
Yep, yeah, so the facility assessments are actually starting this week with some of the educational assessments with principals. Our demographer has our enrollment student information that they need as far as where kids live, so on and so forth, to be able to start that. I think we can expect, I'm going to call it a draft because I don't know it'll be a final 10-year plan, but the information back from those assessments April, May, roughly, and then from there we'll have decisions to make on what that data tells us as far as what that looks like for projects and budgets and such into a 10-year plan. So, we're probably, 6 months out from having something more in a final form of a 10-year plan would be my best guess at this point.
Thank you. That leads us to the conversation that we spent a little bit of time on at that meeting, which was how do you continue to serve the district well and keep the buildings and facilities up to the standards that they need to be with, as well as continue to request that 10-year plan to give us a direction. The 10-year plan will also be a goal. Should there be a crisis, we will have to adjust 10-year plans when they happen. The 10-year plan is not to be written in stone, but a guiding tool. The Facilities Advisory Committee, we will continue to ask how we're doing with that and where's our status with it. But as John reminded us, it takes time to put all that data together, but at the same time, we would rather not lose sight of some projects that need immediate attention.
Katie, I'm just going to add to that real quick. Sorry. Thanks, and for the rest of the board here. So the Facilities Advisory Committee, right, we've got line of sight to that plan, and that is going to help dictate what we think are the next investments for the district, so that, we've had ideas in the past about what we want to do, and that's been based off of information that's really legacy. And so this plan is going to help us kind of have, you know, more sound reasoning and better strategy for what we're moving forward here.
Love that word, structured and strategy. There we go. Here we go. Item number 706, Finance Audit Committee Report. Who would like to speak to that?
Finance audit was very brief. It's really not much different than what we just heard from a few folks, and we'll be approving a couple items here later on in the discussion. One thing that it pointed out to me personally, the summer maintenance schedule that you have here that we're going to approve. That was a big question that a few folks on the board had when we were talking about the activity center. There were a lot of concerns. Are we going to be able to keep up with PEPL? Are we going to be able to keep up with the sales tax funds to keep our buildings up? If we're going to spend 56, 57, 60 million, whatever that number is, we want to make sure, and this kind of confirms that, because I asked Jonathan that question. Like I said, we'll discuss it when we make the motion to approve it. But the biggest thing is it's showing us that we're able to fund the maintenance, we're able to keep our buildings up and keep them, and we do have a schedule that we're working through. And that'll be finalized when OPN gets done with us as well, correct? Yeah. Okay, that's that anyway.
Barry covered it.
I really appreciate you just nailed it, Barry. The connectivity, I think Britt mentioned this as well, the connectivity of those reports that we heard tonight really do help the work that when you talk about what the actual expenses are, we're really seeing an ability to make, I think, good and well thought out strategic and structured decision making. So I'm going to use that word because I like it. All right, we are going to move on. We can have our item number 707, our legislative report.
I'm gonna kick that off. So I wish if you all could imagine at the beginning of the game where it's like okay, so we're all hearing that? Okay. The legislative session started today. Okay. I'm trying to hype you all up as much as I am about the start of the state legislative session. Yeah, that's right. See? Thank you. Taking the lead. Oh my gosh, can we do that? Okay. All right. So today was the first day of the session. Tomorrow, Governor Reynolds give the condition of the state address. And of import, the IASB Day on the Hill is January 27th. Right now, my fellow legislative liaison, Director Maury, and myself will be traveling to Des Moines to meet with folks out there, and then promptly returning to be back for the board meeting that evening. And so if you are unable to make it but have any words or questions for us to take to Des Moines, please let us know before then.
Can I add something there?
Of course.
Okay. For Day on the Hill, for those that haven't signed up or aren't sure if there's enough time, it would help us to know how many of us are going. So if you're thinking about it, let us know, because what we want to try and do is reserve a room early in the day and try and meet with as many representatives as possible so that we can leave early and get back well in time for the board meeting. But we need to know how big of a room we need to try and reserve so that, if you all remember last year, we're not sitting on the floor in a corner. So we're planning to try and make the timeline work so that there's plenty of time to learn, talk, and come back for the board meeting.
Okay. And then I always like making a point to inform folks that February 12th, that is the deadline based on Iowa law for the state legislature to pass SSA. And last year we did not receive that until May. And we have a deadline that we have followed and abided by to turn our budget in with or without that SSA number by, John?
First round mid-March, end of March, second round mid to late April.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I think that's right. March 5th is the first round where we have to put out our levy rate, that mailer that goes out.
Roughly.
Oh, you guys put me on the spot, and I can't give you the exact date of
That's
the final
fine.
one.
I
but
put
yeah,
you on the
sometime in
spot. That's my
late
bad.
April.
I should have had it. I should have looked it up myself. But so that is the states. And then first funnel deadline February 20th, second funnel March 20th. Yeah, and supposedly April 21st is when the 100th day, final day should be. But that is the timeline. I now hand it off to my co-announcer, Britannia, to talk about
You're gonna
some
give me
of
all the
them.
details?
Yes.
Okay. So in your handout, we kind of included some of the SSA rumors and discussions that are floating around because we really won't know the first proposal until tomorrow night when the governor gives her speech. But we have heard that some people are proposing a 0% increase on SSA because of the state budget concerns of eating up the surplus and all of the changes that have been made. But then Representative Tom Moore from Southwest Iowa told KMA Land that he's spoken with House Majority Leader Bobby Kaufman about proposing a 3% increase on the House side. But in that interview, he also said that he hasn't heard anything official from the Senate or the governor's office, but expects a proposal between 2 and 2.5. So those are the rumors thus far. We'll know a lot more after tomorrow night. Also wanted to mention, and we did talk about this briefly at the end of finance audit, but there was recently the announcement of a federal funding shift that was approved for the state of Iowa. We're the first in the nation to go through this process, but it's going to change the way that some federal funds for education they'll be given directly to the state in block grants, and it's going to consolidate some funds and remove some federal requirements, circumvent some reporting things. Basically, the conversation in finance audit was basically Amy and John saying, we have received no guidance, we know nothing yet because it happened a week ago. So a week ago tonight, like then it was 2 days. So what has been shared is that the pro would be more flexibility in how we can use those funds. The cons would be education experts are concerned about lack of oversight, things falling through the cracks, but most likely this won't hit until fiscal year 27. So when we have guidance from the state, we'll talk about what that change in law means.
Britt, I can give a little context there if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the information that me and Amy received from Margaret Buckton was that it's going to be 4 of the ESSA federal education funds, so Title II Part A, Title III Part A, and Title IV Parts A and B. So just a little context of what that means for us is, in round numbers, the funding that we receive from those 4, and actually it's just, we only received from 2 of them, is about $150,000 is what we received this year. So $150,000 is $150,000. For Linn-Mar, it's not a huge sum of money on what the effect would this be. Maybe it gets to be more, maybe it gets to be less. Either way, it's not a huge thing for us, just based on what our budgets are for that currently.
That's good to know. Thank you.
On that number, can I clarify, John? It's still the 150, but what's going to be easier is how it's used, how it comes in. Less, supposedly that's what the governor shared. There'd be less bureaucracy to receive it and get it. I know to us maybe that doesn't sound like a deal breaker, but maybe the spending of it makes it easier in you. I don't know that.
Yeah, I guess I haven't dug into that and read if there's a lot of guidance on that yet. I guess what my concern is anytime that there's changing in how funds are distributed to school districts is, are we going to lose that funding? So I look at it from through a sheer liability lens on, okay, what happens when this goes away? $150,000 going away is not the end of the world for us, so that makes me breathe a little bit easier. The rest of the details I think will flush out whether that gets easier, more difficult, less funding, more funding, but just knowing that worst case scenario, we're out $150,000 doesn't worry me near as much as it did before.
I like that you have a number because last week that we didn't really have a number. Katie, the other part that we really don't know until guidance shows up is it's easy to say, oh, it'll be easier because we're getting rid of all this federal red tape, but now all of the money is being awarded to the state, and then the state gets to decide what the red tape looks like. So we're just trading who's in charge of the rules, and if the rules end up being easier or not is what's yet to be determined. I did include on the handout, there are 2 ISB webinars that are coming up the week before Day on the Hill. That'll be a follow-up to condition on the state, and then there's one on the condition of the budget. Those are both over the noon hour, and they're free because we're members. So if you want to watch those and kind of get up to speed on anything that is going to come out of that, that would be helpful. And then there were some pre-filed bills that I asked, I shared them with Laura, and we thought we'd add them today to the original update. But pre-filed bills, these are coming out of the Department of Education and IPERS. And so these are bills that have already, they've just filed ahead of the session, so just kind of letting you know what some changes might be. And the biggest one right now is changes to the Gifted and Talented program. And one of the things there is changing the science assessment from 10th grade to 11th grade. So we'll stay tuned on how that bill progresses and what that might mean for us as we talk about data and reporting and our tag programs. So, questions?
Outstanding, and I appreciated the depth of reporting you went to. And yes, we'll just put this right on top of your laptop at all times, the schedule, legislative information. I wanted to also just share with you in this moment too, ISB is reminding us these are free training sessions that you go to, and you do get our credit for them. And so please note that some of us have already exceeded, some of us are behind. It's up to you to continue to get those credits. And this is great information. If you can't be there, the information leading up to it is their best way of helping you stay within that experience. So if you can, take the class and get the hours in.
Well, and I'll close it by saying you guys are so lucky that both Laura and I are super nerds when it comes to the legislative session. So these handouts will just get more and more fun every 2 weeks.
Boy, are we feeling lucky tonight. There you go.
By fun, she means longer.
All right. Amy, you've been waiting. Here we go. Item number 708, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President
Touchdown.
Lancaster.
There we go.
Just to acknowledge what we have on the District Honors and Highlights exhibit tonight, congrats to our POMs for placing second in the POMs and in the class 14 POMs and second in the class 7 jazz categories during the Iowa State Dance and Drill Team Association state competition. We also want to acknowledge our show choir. Congrats to all of them for their awesome job and their Get in the Spirit holiday performances. They were able to kick off those performances in the debut of our new performance hall right before winter break. Congrats to teacher Ann Renner, Wilkins' third grade teacher, for being a recent recipient of KCRG's A+ for Education Award. Our high school wind ensemble also received an honor at their recent performance at a clinic at the Midwest International Band and Orchestra Conference held in Chicago. And then our 2 clubs, our Accountability, Leadership, and Opportunity, or otherwise known as ALLO Club, and our National Honor Society Club, our student organizations, they're going to be hosting a talent show on January 13th that is going to include musical performances, comedy acts, and other unique displays of skill. And then moving on, tonight just want to acknowledge that this is my first regular board meeting that we've had since I announced my retirement. My intention is to retire at the end of June. I just want to thank the board and the community and our staff and our students for all the support I've been given during my tenure. Linn-Mar is a really special place, and I'll be forever grateful to have had the opportunity to lead this wonderful district. Exciting news later on in the board agenda, we're expanding our daycare services for preschool families. We're asking for board approval later on the agenda. Daycare services, we'd like to offer and extend it to Echo Hill families next year. Hand in Hand partnered with us for the first time last year, and we're able to offer wraparound daycare services at Lynn Grove currently, and next year we'll be going to a second site. So that's wonderful opportunity for our families to be able to engage in daycare, because often we hear about barriers to our preschool program are either transportation because of the 2-hour program that we're able to offer, or daycare, and we've been able to satisfy that daycare component now. We will be able to satisfy that in a couple of our buildings. Just an update to what we were talking about just a little bit ago with the federal waiver. I do want to share that Director of the Department of Ed, Snow, did send an email out to the field on Friday night trying to talk through the changes a little bit, and they are offering some upcoming webinars to school districts. So they are bringing us into the fold on all the meaning around those federal funds that we just discussed. A few highlights then around just our facilities. Indian Creek Playground, the cement project has been completed and students are now able to walk through and use that space. We'll be talking about the Indian Playground here coming up later in the meeting as well. With the performance hall, we were thrilled to get into the venue ahead of winter break with the Get in the Spirit inaugural performances. We intend to hold a ribbon cutting ceremony and open house on February 4th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. We'll open up with the ceremony at 4:30. And Winger is currently working on the shop drawings for the orchestra shell. As far as the high school indoor activity center, the steering committee met just this last week on January 8th. Adjustments are being made to the training room. Currently, athletics offices adjustments are also happening, and then they're developing more in the commons area. As far as the facilities assessment, we've touched upon that a little bit earlier in the meeting as well when we talked about facilities, the 10-year plan. But OPN is currently working through digital models. They've been completed of all the buildings. They scanned construction documents that they did not have. They're in process of creating REVIT files for each site. They're migrating models into evaluation software, and then there's internal discussions to determine which teams will review each of the sites. And then team leaders will determine the order of the site evaluations, and the intent is to start the reviews this month and complete as soon as possible. Some upcoming events for students and staff. Today there was no school, we had a work day. Again, on the 19th, there'll be a no school day. We'll have a professional day that day. We are going to kick off that morning at 8 o'clock in the new performance hall with an all staff gathering, so looking forward to that. And then in February, we'll be starting into some conferences. And with that, I'd take any questions.
So I can't help it, but there's a moment you just kind of catch your breath. So it's been a while, it's been less than a month, but we are thankful. It has been a joy to start this whole process of looking for someone to lead our district with the way that you have left this district, and you are leaving it at a mountaintop. So we thank you very much. So there's much more energy, I believe Justin used that word, when you still have more energy, but you still know this is the time. So I thank you for giving us that setting to bring somebody else into that role. So thank you very much. If no one has any further questions, we're going to move out of our reports and move into items number 800, our unfinished business. At this time, we have item number 801, approval of substantial completion. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the substantial completion of the Linn-Mar High School Extension Renovation Project and issue final payment to Unstag Construction for a total of $100,000.
Second.
I have a motion by Barry and a second by Midhat. Is there any discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. The motion has carried. Oh, anybody opposed? Sorry. The motion carries. Item number 802, approval of board operations manual. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the board operations manual as presented in Exhibit 802.1.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Now let's get into discussion.
I just have two things that I would request be addressed prior to approval. First, if we're going to list the regular session agenda format in the manual, then we should probably follow it, and tonight's agenda doesn't. I understand why it doesn't. Whenever we add something, then it pushes the numbers down, so I just think that we need to figure out a better categorical system or not list it. For example, tonight we had both that's public hearing and audience communication, so then that pushed audience communication down. The district highlight and the special recognition, push those down. So the manual says that audience communication should be 400, and tonight it was 600. So it's just, if it's in a manual, we should probably figure out how to better do that. And then last fall, the Facility Advisory Committee came up with a description for the committee. I think that should be added to the committee section at the end of this manual.
I'm going to go back to your conversation about the numerical order of our pieces. What would your recommendation be? Not to follow it, what would be the recommendation to be able to add?
So I think what you need is flexibility. So if we're going to have a public hearing and audience communication, instead of pushing numbers, maybe we call that section 400 community communications. And then if there's a public hearing, it's 401, and there's audience communication is 402, like we do under other sections. Same with special recognition, district highlight. That could be one category, and then whatever pops up under it could be 301, 302. I guess that would simplify it.
I appreciate what you're saying. So we will typically have item number 300 is da-da-da-da-da if things are up or down. The only thing I see with that, Britt, is some things they don't have anything in common. So how those numbers or those titles should probably be generalized enough, right? So that they're not, right now they're very specific. And how do we generalize it so that we can do 101, 102, 103, that kind of thing. Does anybody else have any recommendations to that? Go ahead.
And actually, Britt, this would be a question for your brain. Because I'm thinking there's a policy that actually dictates some agenda and how they're numbered. And I was on my computer trying to find it before I spoke, but there was a...
So we looked at that earlier. So one thing to keep in mind, this is how we will operate. There is policies, and policies are approved. I just want to make sure, sometimes it's how we agree. We're going to be the board together, and that's why Britt's giving feedback. These are how we would be together. The 401, 402s is how we would manage our agenda, but there is specific to what you're talking about. Oh, Laura, see, look at us know what the policies are all about. Britt should be very proud of us, right, in this very moment that we can recall them. But there is a solution. We can try to do other things too, such as remove the numbers and just say this is the way that we will generally speak to things and so forth and so on. What we have to do is say to ourselves, this is how we conduct business. And there are policies that back up these steps that we've put in. And I think that's important too. There are, as you look in our manual, it'll say per policy, da-da-da-da-da. As per policy, so such and such. And so there's been great work done by the policy team to give us guidance to get this together. This is kind of a combination. By state law, we are required to have policies, and we have many policies that come to us from the State House and Senate. This is, I believe, our working internal document on how we will be one another. Why is that important? There are years that we've had not everybody sign into it and sign off on it, right? And so if what that person's saying is, I'm just not going to abide by what we collectively do. Well, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's not enforcement. What this is a public statement. I respect my fellow board members enough. This is how we'll conduct work and conduct how we do one another. And what I appreciate is, for example, Britt saying, hey, I caught this and it's not in line. It actually fulfills, there's a great section in here talking about how we speak to each other, how we will dialogue with each other, and so forth and so on. So I appreciate you're using it exactly in that way. Go ahead, Britt.
Policy 204.7 is our policy on board meeting agenda, and it doesn't list anything about numbers. So maybe we just don't attach numbers to it in the operations guide because it's not in policy. I don't care what number system we use. I just think if we're going to say it's this way and then the agenda doesn't reflect that, then people question, are we not doing everything else that we say we're going to do?
I appreciate that. Anybody else have any, are we okay as a group, because this one, again, how are we going to be with one another without getting into, I'm just throwing this out, not a U.S. Supreme Court decision here. We're just trying to say, how do we best do business and have documentation of how we do business. Would you be comfortable with the page where it's got the numbers on it, with the actual 200s, 100s, and sections, whether or not that is that we take off the numbers and it's a recognition of the sequencing of how things will happen? Does that work for anyone?
Can I ask just one clarifying question? So what was the rationale, for instance, in tonight's agenda for public hearing coming before audience communication and then for district highlights to be in between the two?
I can speak to that
Thank you.
directly. As we get through those pieces, when we have our agenda creation, one thing we talk about is what is the flow of a meeting, and where, especially with when you have people that have worked all day long as far as our departments, where do they come and speak to it? I'm going to get us back to the specific of the agenda and just say, are you okay comfortably with when we list the sequencing to a best abilities and remove the numbering so that does not get us snicked up? Mid-Hats next, go.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Do we need to have the formatting of the meetings in here? What if I understand we have the board meeting.
We're discussing taking the numbers out so we don't have to put it in there.
I understand that, but do we need to have that section?
I think it's helpful to know what to expect from a meeting. I just don't think we have to be so specific as to number and then be like stuck with that.
I agree with the recommendation that has been brought forward. I just wanted to ask about the section where the meetings are like listed.
Thank you very much. I'm going to say that this is also a manual that can be handed down to a person who gets elected to a position on this board. They can see expectations. It's sort of like getting a training manual with best intentions of how you're going to treat those who are doing the job with you and alongside of you. There is policies that align with these different areas. So just want to let you know that you'll see that when it comes up. It'll say specifically board meeting agendas, board meetings. So we've done a little homework. I would also, I think I looked at the date. This originally was created in 1993, and I want to thank those who thought this was important enough to figure out how to be together, that we follow that tradition as well. Is there any further, Britt's right now recommendation would be that we would amend the packet by taking out the numbers. So the motion still stays, but the packet itself would change, correct? All right. And then we would add the definition of the facilities committee, correct?
I'm just going to speak to that if that's okay. You know, with the inception of the committee, as we were discussing it, John and I, we had really envisioned that to be a district advisory committee and not a board committee. And when I look in the board manual, what I noticed in the board manual is that we don't have advisory committees spelled out, but we do have the 4 board committees spelled out. So that's the point I would draw to that request.
Yeah, I'd agree to that, Amy. I think the document that we created just kind of helped us visualize what it is and what it isn't. Katie, back to your point, truthfully, I've always been confused about the numbers and why they were, and for a while I thought that they were connected to our policy series, but they're not. So there's an opportunity to reduce that. With that being said, unintended consequences, is there any concern about, right now we talk about the exhibits, and so would the exhibit, instead of a number for the exhibit, would the exhibit description just have to reference the title?
We're only talking about getting rid of the number reference in here, not on the actual agenda.
Yeah.
And that way, the agenda can be numbered sequentially according to whatever you're putting on the agenda. We just are recommending removing the numbers from the operations manual.
So the exhibits move,
Okay.
so they align.
I can get behind that.
I appreciate that, Justin, too, because it takes you a while to realize that there are ways we use numbers over and over again, but they have different purposes in different meetings. So thank you very much. That was a lesson learned right off the bat, too. I think that was in Board Learning 101. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Thank you for hearing me.
If if I'm recalling my Roberts rules, do we, if the person who made the motion amends it to omit the numbers in the operation packet, and if the person making the motion wants to make any other changes, they could do that. But as the second, I am here and ready pending any change in the motion.
It
Thank
could
you very
be
much.
just changed from as presented to as discussed.
Yep.
The
Are you
motion.
guys comfortable with that?
It's up to Barry.
Barry, you made the motion. As presented or as discussed?
I'm open to making a motion to remove the numbers on that, but I am not open to adding the facilities committee because, as Amy shared with us, that's actually an advisory committee. It's not a board committee. So I will make that motion to remove the numbers. I'm good with that. And the main thing that I want to touch on is to make sure that we're not messing with policy, and then make sure that we don't have to make the policy committee go back and revamp a bunch of stuff. So that's really what my goal is.
I appreciate that, Barry.
With his motion, is there a second?
I would
Katie,
like, I would,
can we,
Wait, freeze, go.
Barry, can you make that formal? Can you amend your motion?
I can, okay. I make a motion to approve the board operational manual with removal of the numbers on the agenda on page 6, as discussed.
second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? The manual has been approved. All right, we are now moving on to item number 900, new business. At this time, Nathan, you've been sitting there ready to speak to all of us. You're going to provide us information on the updated 2026-27 and the proposed 2027-28 school year calendars. Bring it. This is when the NFL song should be going. Ready? Go for it.
Thanks. No, I appreciate having the agenda item that nobody else wants to do, so I've got the calendar. So I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, though, because as I've told you before, like our committee is a really good committee. I've worked with them, really been doing calendar ever since I started here, so we have some pretty good institutional knowledge of what we do. But I want to just highlight a couple changes for you and then take any questions, because I know there's some questions out there about some things that are different. You know, one of the first things that we have tried to do, based on Amy's suggestion, is approve 2 years out. So that's why you see kind of a rolling 2-year approval. Because 26-27 had already been approved last year at this time, we did not want to make major changes to that. You'll see a change in there for just some reorganizing of teacher contract days, but that doesn't affect kid days. So there are no significant changes from the 26-27 calendar that was approved by you initially back in 1/13 of 25, but we did just change a couple days. If you're wondering, it's at the end of the year for teachers. Instead of having 2 days after kids are done, we moved one of those to a comp day from parent-teacher conferences. So that's why the colors have changed on those. But one thing that I just want you to be aware of as the committee works through these is there's a couple parameters that we always have to work with. One, the state says we can't start before August 23rd, so we have to work off August 23rd. What that does then is allow for us to try to get as close as we can. And I remember when I started here, when we shortly before that had made the shift from hours to days, we roughly tried to keep the same number of days that we had had in our calendar previous to that. The old requirement used to be 180 days. We're at 176 student days, which totals 1,115 hours. So we are approximately 35 hours over the required amount that we're supposed to have. So our calendar is based off in hours, but we still count school days because that's the easiest way to do that. So what you'll see then, if you look specifically at the 27-28 school year, the reason we had a discussion about changing Christmas break, winter break for December, is because of the changes in our attendance laws and where December 17th fell for our winter break. So if you work from the August 23rd, and we have to fit in 176 days, and we have to have 191 days for our teacher contract, that really limits what we can do throughout the year. But the committee decided to do a couple things with feedback based on the 27-28 year. So what happens is when we roll these over, we give the committee a draft with some recommendations. The committee members, which are made up mostly from staff in almost every building, even though we don't have every building covered, we have every level covered, those drafts go back to staff. So we had a committee meeting in early November. We sent these out prior to, or maybe shortly after Thanksgiving break. We asked for committee members and staff to provide feedback. And there were 2 points of feedback that we got from our staff. One was to look at balancing the quarters and semesters. So if you look at 27-28 school year, there's 86 days in the first semester, and there's 90 days in the second semester. The previous draft would have had an imbalance. I think it was closer to 84 and 93. So it wasn't, or maybe 83 and 93. There was quite a difference there. So staff had asked us to look at balancing the semesters. The other thing that we got staff feedback on was not wanting to be out a week before the winter holidays that fall in there as far as Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. And so the committee had recommended adding school days into the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd. So what's interesting is depending on where the actual holidays fall over winter break, and with the new attendance changes, like this would have never been a problem for us before. But if you think about the 26-27 school year, if you look back at that one that we approved last year, the 21st and 22nd are Monday and Tuesday, and the committee does not want to have a 2-day week because we know what student attendance will look like on those short weeks. And because now the state law around attendance, we get punished or penalized for having high levels of chronic absenteeism, we know that we need to have at least 3 school days in a winter break week in order to make that effective for families. If it's just 1 day, for example, if they came back on Monday, or if it's 2 days, past practice has shown us that families would often leave and not send kids to school on that day, on those days. So for the 27-28 school year, the committee just recommended going to school 3 days that week before winter break. The other thing that we always talk about is, do we want to maintain a week at spring break? And the committee had said yes, and then you'll see the same changes for the end of the year. When I asked the committee what they thought about that, because again, it really isn't one preference of mine over the other, and it's not about what we necessarily prefer as administrators, the teachers in the committee said that they would much rather trade December days than June days or late May days with instructional days for kids. And so that's why you're seeing not a 2-week Christmas break or winter break in December of 2027. So once we get to that point, then it's just filling in to make sure that we have balanced semesters. We meet the 176 days roughly, 1,115 hours of instruction, and those are what we're taking forward to you guys for recommendations. So questions? I'm happy to answer any questions about discussions that the committee had. Britt. I saw your microphone come on.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just assuming. So the last 2 years and then next year, we've had 2 weeks at winter break. And that first year when we switched to having that 2 full weeks, and I know it was mostly because of when the holidays fell, but I got so much feedback on how nice of a mental health reset that was for staff, for families. Now it'll be 3 years that we have done that before this 27-28 suggestion. While I very much appreciate the balanced semesters, I mean, you and I have had conversations about trying to get second quarter done before break, and I know it's nearly impossible starting on the 23rd. But I also thought about chronic absenteeism, and if people are trying to travel around the winter holidays, making it 3 days or 2 days, like, they're going to leave. I mean, we're going to have absences that week regardless. But I think that mental health break is also important. Family travel is helpful. But I also think consistency. I mean, is the committee's process, are they thinking that this is the new norm again, is going back to these shorter breaks?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I would rather, as nice as it sounds to end on May 25th, I would rather end on June 1st and have a full week break, and that's kind of the feedback that I've heard. So while I appreciate the academic conversation around can we get more days in first semester, I think the absences are going to happen if we limit. I think we're going to see a better absence if we give them the 2 weeks. So that's just my thought process as I looked through this.
Yeah. So is that a question? Is that what you're asking? Is like, sorry. I just want to make sure
No,
I
you're
answered
right.
your question.
I rambled.
Did the committee talk about changing that, you're saying, because we had set a precedence of having 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, it'll be 3 years. That's what people, I
Yes.
like consistency. I
Yep.
like families being able to say, and I remember when we started doing 2 years out, which is nice because they plan for that. We've kind of gotten people used to, we're going to have a winter break and you're going to have this like time
Yeah.
to reset, and
Yeah, I
whether
see
you
what you're
travel
saying.
or not, it's just a nice break. It's a long time between break and spring break in the end.
Yeah, I think I think the committee would have changed that for winter break next year, but I kind of advised against that because we had already put that calendar out to the community ahead of that. I know that the committee talked about that, and their desire would be to just look at, depending on where the holidays fall over winter break, to make that determination. I don't know that anybody on the committee specifically said that, but I think they know that having 2 years out, again, this gives families plenty of time, that it would be 27, 28 to make that change, which is why we're trying to do this rolling, 2-year approval of a calendar. But yes, to answer your question specifically, that's something that it sounds like the committee would want to look at each year to see where we're at. I did spot check a few others. I have some inside information with my wife teaching at College Community, so I looked at theirs. Their schedule is very similar, and their proposed 27, 28 does the same thing, although they only go on 20th and 21st, not the 22nd. So there are other districts that are having to make that same kind of determination around the winter break there.
I guess my final comment would be that your committee is only made up of staff members. It'd be nice to get family feedback. Maybe I'm wrong, and families that haven't talked to me love the idea of May 25th and they don't care how long winter break is. That's just not what I've heard over the last 3 years.
I appreciate someone who had children in the district for almost 27 years total with my kiddos. I'm going to tell you what ends up happening is every couple of years, we're working around a date that moves. We're working around a second date that moves. And so I appreciate, we used to go until like the end of the first week of June, and what I think teachers were saying is instructionally, they would rather have kids those extra 2 days in December, 3 days in December, versus those ending days where you're just kind of cranking out the hours because your seniors have already left the buildings. And so just throwing that out, I think that I appreciate all of it and above. The hard part is when we're 2 years out, we're missing this key word in here. It is still in draft. And we forget that all things can change. Remember the big year that all of a sudden the governor announced that we had to change the first day of school, and everybody scrambled to get that done. So we've had other big unknowns. This is the best plan made forward so that families can make decisions as best as they possibly can. I appreciate all the effort that goes into it. This is not an easy task. And again, just appreciate all the insight and the consistency of what's going on. Does anybody else have any further conversation?
Yeah. I had a similar observation about the shortened Christmas week, but I guess however it shakes out based on feedback and what other districts are doing and things like that, because I do appreciate that we try to, and I know we've discussed this before, we try to plan our schedule with Kirkwood's schedule and other districts' schedules, because I mean, there are families who, whether they work in another district or they have kiddos that are in a different district, like it's very regional in that way. But regardless of which way it goes, I guess I know when I was like early on, when I was a young parent and I wasn't always on top of the school calendar, I know I would appreciate, especially after 3 years of 2 weeks, if this is the calendar that goes moving forward, how we can communicate that at the beginning of the school year with families, where, you know, we really, because I know lots of families will be thrilled at the idea of being done in late May, right? And so I think as long as we communicate it and people are aware, it doesn't sneak up on them, because they will kind of rely back on that consistency. And then the other thing I wanted to acknowledge is that we are closed on that November 1st, November 2nd day, with the county having, using our facilities for elections, opting to close those days for reasons of logistics and safety and everything. Still makes a lot of sense. So those were my comments.
Yeah, thanks.
Nathan, I'd like to compliment your staff and your group. I really appreciate what you brought forward. And if you're ready for that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the updated 2026-2027 school year calendar and proposed 2027-2028 school year calendar as presented in 901.1A-B.
Second.
We have a motion by Barry, a second by Midhat. Is in there for discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed?
No.
There is one no. Thank you. We'll move on now to item number 902, the approval at the at-risk dropout plan. And Ann, you get to come and speak to us, I believe, or you have your little microphone. Go for it.
All right, good evening. Tonight, as part of the agenda, Exhibit 902.1, I'm sharing the 26-27 Linn-Mar at-risk dropout prevention plan. This work isn't new. It is simply put into a plan that formalizes how we identify and support students who may be at risk, as identified by the Iowa Code 257.39. While the document matters, what truly makes the difference and what's hard to capture in any report are the relationships and professional connections our staff build with students every single day. These connections create trust, belonging, and hope. They are what keeps students coming back to school. I couldn't be more proud and thankful for all of our staff for their dedication to this work. The overview of this plan follows the required key components outlined in Iowa Code 257.38, which governs funding for at-risk programs, alternative schools, and services for returning or potential dropouts. It ensures we meet state requirements while focusing on systematic identification and support students who need extra help. The key components and highlights that's in this plan, it outlines our approach as early identification using multiple sources of data, targeting support such as a multi-tiered system of support, strategies that are individualized for our students, and a continuum of support and learning options. We have qualified staff delivering the program work for our students and providing our staff with professional learning opportunities. It's also seeing the child as a whole child, so allowing collaboration among staff, families, and community partners. The goal is to keep our students engaged, connected, and on track for graduation. This plan reflects our ongoing commitment to student success and aligns with the state requirements for funding and accountability. I want to thank you for your continued support for making Linn-Mar a place where students can thrive. Any questions that you have for me?
I just want to make a quick comment. I know I don't normally serve on the group that goes to the counselor meetings, and I just wanted to reiterate how impressed I was at the plan and the multi-tiered systems of support. I think that if you don't, I think if you don't know what's going on and what you're doing, you don't have good data, that you really can't make those informed decisions. And I think it's really clear that the staff have done a good job of identifying where they are with the help that they're giving and what movements they can make. And so it was a privilege to be able to go that night. And like I said, I think that they've done a very, very good job of being able to set themselves up to identify who needs the help and what that help is, and what a plan and a progress for that individual is as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. On that, Evan, would you like to make a motion, please? Oh, you have a question? Go for it.
Too late.
You have to have a question for Ann.
Yeah. And do you think that the training that you have in these, identified in these, in the plan here, would be something that we would track with the Vector Solutions contract? I don't know if you've had that connection at all, just with the online tracking, or do you already have an online tracking way of doing that?
So I learned about this today, and I was super excited. So I have a plan. I worked with something similar in my past career, where I've worked with something similar to this, and so Carla and I are going to connect.
Sweet.
Great minds think alike. I'm going to go back. Evan, would you
I
like?
move to approve the at-risk and dropout plan for the 2026-2027 school year as presented in Exhibit 902.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Evan and a second by Britt. Is there further discussion? If not, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. Item number 903, the approval of request to CBRC for at-risk dropout. Did I just do that? No, I didn't. Go for it. Who's got a motion for this one?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the request to the School Budget Review Committee, SBRC, for a modified supplemental amount, MSA, in the amount of $1,487,505 for the 2026-2027 at-risk dropout plan.
Oof.
Second.
Wow, we have a motion by Laura and a second by Evan. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. We have item number 904, approval of open enrollment requests.
Motion to approve the open enrollment requests as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura and a second by Barry. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. The motion has carried. Item number 905, approval of early graduation requests.
Motion to approve the early graduation requests as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Midhat and a second by Laura. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make just one quick comment. First of all, to compliment all the young folks that are graduating. And the second one is it was brought to my attention that one of the young men is actually a junior. So he's actually going a year and a half early. So just to really compliment all the kids.
Wow. There you go. Congratulations to our early graduates. Is there any further discussion? If not, let's approve this, or vote on this, I should say. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? They are approved. At this time, we have item number 906, approval of our superintendent search firm. I'm going to speak to this before we go into a motion. We had a presentation at our work session for which the public was invited to last week. And we were able to then look through the documents and do some research and follow up with their conversation. At this time, I think we've had many of our conversation pieces already met, thank you to the social media as well. But one thing to keep in mind, they are very aware of the need for diligent background checks and doing the work there to make sure that the best candidates come, and not only that, that they are able to serve us as they project. The other thing that we came forward with that was to get a scheduling and seeing if all goes well, and we use this firm, we would be able to possibly have somebody selected before spring break. And I think, again, that would be lovely to be doing that. And finally, why this company? We got Amy through this company, and we feel very strongly that we were served well by this company, and we could be served well again. And financially, they have made it definitely affordable for us to remain with them. Does anybody else have any further discussion they feel that they'd like to share? Wait. We need a motion, then a second, then a discussion. How's that?
Motion to approve Linn-Mar Leader Services to conduct the superintendent search for a total of $19,455.74.
Second.
We have a motion by Midhat, a second by Britt. Now is there discussion? Britt, did you have anything? Anybody?
I did.
Laura.
I was just going to speak to not only did Linn-Mar help us hire Amy, and that has just been awesome. But also, the detailed, data-driven process and inclusion of community feedback and the scoring system and the coordination with the candidates and our staff and everything else, that this isn't just a, oh, well, we used them last time, so we're going to use them again. No, like, they have an amazing, well-documented process. It's like a leave no stone unturned, and also we're going to line up all the stones and put them in categories and score them accordingly. Truly, I'm excited to get to be a part of this process for many reasons, but watching them do what they do best is something I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. I think that you just nailed it on that one. They were very, very detailed and data-driven. I think that's an important piece, but also this is now when we're going to ask the community to be participants in this search. This isn't just about us finding somebody, but this is about us as a community finding the person who will continue to lead one of the finest school districts in the state of Iowa, if not the finest district in the state of Iowa. In case the candidate is watching, at any point in time, put your papers in. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, may I have you restate the motion, please? Just to make sure.
Motion to approve hiring Grunmeyer Leader Services to conduct the superintendent search for a total of $19,455.74.
Thank you. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? The motion has carried. Thank you. Item number 907, approval of 2026 summer facilities projects. This comes under exhibit number 907.1.
Motion to approve the 2026 summer facilities project listing as presented in exhibit 907.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura and a second by Britt. Any discussion?
I just want to point out a couple things. The Indian Creek playgrounds on that, the Oak Ridge, so the Indian Creek playgrounds on it. Sorry,
So if you look
yes.
into item
And
number,
so the band room, that's what I was going to say. So the band room's on it, and then Echo Hill and Boulder Peak are on it. And it's all paid through Save and Pepple. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody.
And Pearl.
And Pearl.
all
Sorry.
of the above but general.
Yep.
Well done, and thank you for that. Any other discussion?
I guess I just wanted to, since we do have a marathon of a meeting tonight, I wanted to point out that these were the items that started in Facilities Advisory Committee, moved to finance audit. Oh, it has been a long one. And then now it's come to our agenda for approval. And so these are those summer projects that were timely, that we're doing them ahead of this approval of the 10-year facilities plan.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. Item number 908, approval of Oak Ridge Band Room Addition, exhibit number 908.1.
Motion to approve the OPN Architects to provide professional design services for the band room addition at Oak Ridge Middle School as presented in exhibit 908.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Britt and a second by Laura. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say how excited I am for this project to finally, we've been talking about this since my first year on the board. So to say that Oak Ridge outgrew their space a decade ago or more, this is a needed project, and I'm very excited that it's moving forward.
Thank you for that feedback. Anyone else? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. Item number 1000, consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with updated item number 1001 classified staff resignations.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a second by Barry. All right, we have a motion by
The
Midhat.
second, point of order, the second order was by Laura.
It's
I
fine.
said it too.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
they both said
just-
it? Okay.
Any
Stereo.
discussion? If no discussion, we will go ahead. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? And the motion has carried. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and now we hit, dun-ta-da, Bullard calendar, am I correct? Whew. We're nearing the end, guys. This has been a fabulous meeting, by the way. Thank you. You have the amount of work that we've been able to do together. I'd like to highlight some upcoming board events, if I may. January 15th, Policy Committee. You got 2 packets. It's great. January 19th, no school professional day. Just keep in mind that we are invited to the all-staff gathering at 8 o'clock in the morning. January 21st, Finance Audit Committee will meet at 7:30 in the morning. Ouch. January 22nd, we have a Marion City Council meeting. I need a volunteer to attend that meeting.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Britt.
I'll take the other one on February 5th.
February 5th. Thank you, Laura and Britt. All right, we then have January 26th as our Day on the Hill. Please let Britt and Laura know. I already told Gayla that I was unable to attend that meeting or that Day on the Hill, but I'm sharing with you guys as a team now.
Are you guys going in the day before?
No.
You're going to go in early that morning and then come back?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going. I already let
Okay.
Gayla know. Yeah.
I will let you guys figure that out. All right, and then you will be just running in the door for the Board of Directors meeting and exempt session beginning at 5 o'clock on January 26th. January 29th, we have a board visit to Wilkins at 8:30 in the morning. And Laura's already signed up for the next City Council meeting. Oh, February 4th, 4:30, get it on your calendars. That is our Performance Hall ribbon cutting open house. And I'm going to have to ask someday, what are we calling it? Hall, okay. Thank you. I've been calling it venue. I don't know why. Performance venue. Now it's Performance Hall. So I just want to get my language correct.
Okay, so just so we have the Little Theater, the High School Auditorium, and the Performance Hall.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'm still trying to learn the new name of the LRC, which I can have ASC or something, so I'm just trying to remember it all.
We need a Gayla to put, Gayla, could you put a list together of all the buildings for us? Thank you. All right, that's all the things that I've had. Is there an agenda is there a motion to adjourn our meeting today?
Motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:22.
We have a motion by Barry and Britt. I'm going to go motion with Barry and second by Britt. All those, is there any discussion? No. Is there, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed? And the motion has carried. Thank you very much.